координатором проєкту допомоги вимушеним переселенцям. Організація Caritas Ukraine передала правильніше, 23 тисячі постраждалих від гуманітарної катастрофи отримали допомогу від організації Caritas Ukraine. Відповідно, зараз колеги розкажуть більш детально про діяльність організації. Прошу до слова.
Caritas Ukraine з літа.
Dear mass media representatives, Caritas Ukraine has been engaged in a relief effort since last summer, and as we know, the number of IDPs has grown. It has become much larger today and reached over 1 million people who had to leave their homes and flee in face of combat action and to save their lives. From the very start of this migration, Caritas was taking part in providing help to people, and over this time we were able to help more than 50,000 people in different ways. We were providing money for their residence, for nourishment, for clothes. We provided legal consultations and psychological consultations, and among the great number of IDPs, there are 400,000 to 500,000 kids who are traumatized, and according to the information of the UN, 60 to 70% of children witnessed violence, and this is a trauma that will persist in their minds. This will be hard to heal, and Caritas tries to help those children as well. So today's briefing has the aim to introduce a new program that we will be able to implement soon with the help of Caritas in Germany and with the support of the German government, because the German government has allocated €2 million to help IDPs. And with this money, we can help 23,000 IDPs, providing them with various social services and financial help for their dwellings, for paying their rent, for their first medical needs, and also we may help them psychologically and organize their I ask our worker Grygoriy Seleshchuk to dwell in detail on this, because he is coordinating our programs in the east and the west of Ukraine. This week I came back from a broad tour of the east. I went to Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhzhia, Slovyansk, Krasnoarmeysk, Kramatorsk, Dobropilya, and other cities. I'd like to start with different kinds of help that we have already provided, and we have reached more than 50,000 people since last summer, and it was focused first of all. It started with the help in Western Ukraine, but as you see on the map, we are developing our structures that work in the east of Ukraine. We are opening 3 new centers in Kramatorsk, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporizhzhia that will provide help to IDPs. What's new in the approaches that we are developing? First, what our social workers are saying. They say that there is a new wave of IDPs now. Maybe this is linked to lesser shelling and firing, and it's easier to leave at the moment. Maybe this is linked to the fact that people have used up all their resources to stay there. Besides, if we talk about the prices for food and other commodities on the occupied territories, they are very expensive. For instance, lard in Luhansk, Donetsk, and Makivka costs 120 hryvnia. Potatoes 9 to 12 hryvnia, and there's almost no meat available, and the price is over 100 hryvnia per kilo, which is inaccessible for many people. If we talk about jobs, then the situation is rather complicated. If we, for instance, look at people in the educational sphere, we have the information that from October to February, teachers and other workers of schools have got only their salaries only twice, and both times it was 1,800 hryvnia, which is of course very insufficient. So our work is going to be concentrated on people, focused on people who are coming and leaving, and we want to reach 9,000 people who come without anything, who come only with plastic bags, and the amount of this help depends on the number of people in the family, and the family of 3 will at once get almost 2,400 hryvnia. Besides, we focus on those small towns in Donetsk region and frontline, in the vicinity of frontline, and also in some remote districts of Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia regions. We will take to them special sets of food products, and the cost of them is almost 800 hryvnia. This is a rather substantial set of foods. This is not the package that is being disseminated by many volunteer organizations, which costs something like 200 or 300 hryvnia and includes only porridge. Besides, we have plans to continue our work beyond the front line, and the only option there is delivery of food sets over the beyond the front line. We did have such cases. We did deliver to Donetsk. We're now planning to expand this geography, and we want to organize this in a more systematic way to make it regular, although this does lead to many challenges. First of all, we should have a basis of reliable people who will be responsible for handing out humanitarian help, because as you know, there's a lot of facts when the food sets that are being sent from Ukraine or beyond the front line find their way to markets. This is one of the challenges, and another challenge is agreeing all the formal steps, both from our side and from the opposite side, in order to legally distribute these things. One of the know-hows is in the fact that we very actively involve IDPs into our work, and at the moment, over 120 social workers in Caritas are working for IDPs all around Ukraine, and this does not include volunteers who join in their hundreds. And another know-how is that we focus not only on IDPs. When we come to a remote village in Dnipropetrovsk region where IDPs live, we also provide help for local population who are in dire straits and who are among those socially vulnerable groups that are very important to us. Because, you know, our help does not is not provided to all the IDPs. We focus it on socially vulnerable groups. We are talking here about families with many children, disabled people, families where there are breastfeeding mothers or pregnant women, and also elderly people. So these are the groups of people that we are helping. I may also answer as well the question, how do you help healthy men who can serve in the army? Thank you. Any comments? No, I'd like to once again thank the German government for their support in the Caritas activity, and that they provide the money that we need to help people directly. And another important thing is that this is the system that we have created for the people, and it is transparent, and it is based on complete documentation whom the money reaches and how it reaches and what people get for this money. And now we are ready to answer your questions.
Please introduce yourselves before you ask questions. TV channel, do you know about the cases of the hunger death on the occupied territories? We have not documented such cases because our work on occupied territories is very limited. We can refer to the information that we receive from IDPs. From IDPs, we did receive such information, but we cannot use it as documents because it hasn't been confirmed. In the latest report of the UN on crisis situation in Ukraine, there is information that there are many in Debaltseva, many people in Debaltseva who died, and people who controlled that territory were requesting for the bags from international organizations. They were requesting the bags to collect the bodies of people. I would like to clarify, were you involved in evacuation of people from the settlements which are on the front line and close to that delineation line? Our work was not directed towards evacuation. We were mostly helping those who were evacuated, those who were already here, and our assistance was providing some things, helping with accommodation, giving some products, food products, some money for food. Talking about people who needed this humanitarian assistance, did you coordinate your work with volunteer organizations or with some state bodies, or your colleagues made the lists of people who needed assistance? We are providing assistance to IDPs, and we have been doing it starting from April last year. The system of assistance was that we were contacting different volunteer organizations, but talking about different regions. In the Western Ukraine, there are no volunteer organizations that would have such scale as Caritas. Talking about Eastern Ukraine, we started our work there later in August, September, and our work in Eastern Ukraine was about contacting different volunteer organizations that had been there already. Many volunteers are working in volunteer organizations and in Caritas. In fact, it is very difficult to say that that is some parallel structures. They are all interlinked, and our assistance, which is provided with the support of international organizations or partner organizations to Caritas, There's Caritas Germany, for example, but besides there's Caritas Poland, Caritas Austria, Caritas Spain, Caritas America, and there are many organizations which have joined this situation, and our assistance is very systemic. I mean that, as Andriy has mentioned, it is very well documented, and it's reflected in different reports to tax bodies. On the one hand, that limits our activities. It's easier when a person comes to volunteer organization. You need some jacket, take it. You need some food products, take. With us, the procedure is much more complicated, but the volumes of our assistance are much bigger. So it's like a symbiosis, a mixture of these approaches. And when we are talking about large-scale projects, which the government of Germany supports, which is for 2 million euros, or other projects which were financed previously by Polish government, there were projects for 700,000 euros. Volunteer organizations do not have a clear system inside that could adapt, provide assistance transparently and systematically. Again, now we are receiving from our partners from abroad many new signals that the volumes of support to Ukraine could be much bigger if Ukraine creates a system of providing the assistance directly to those who need. And that is one of the challenges that we all face. Ukraine has to get ready, has to be ready for that, so that it's ready with legislation. It's the issues of taxation, and organizationally there should be certain structures which will be able to work with such volumes here in Ukraine. Now, I would like to say that among Ukrainian organizations, Caritas is probably the only structure that can work at such scale, of course, with the exception of different international organizations who came here, but these are international organizations. I would like to clarify, to continue your answer. Yesterday we had the briefing of the Patriot Defense of the World Congress of Ukrainians, and they were saying that the trainings are to be provided for on tactical medicine, and we had the question about cooperation of that organization with the state bodies, and I would like to ask you the same question. Are you planning to have some cooperation between Caritas Ukraine and other international organizations with the state emergency service to more productively address all the problems that people are facing? I believe that the volumes of the needs for IDPs, again, I would like to remind you of the figure, more than 1 million IDPs we have. The volumes indicate that this is not possible for one single organization or for the state. There is a need to consolidate the cooperation between all the institutions, the state, volunteers, charity organizations, which can provide assistance. And there are foundations for this cooperation. Today we coordinate the work at different levels. We coordinate work with international organizations, and as Caritas we are members of the coordination systems and round tables headed by the UN. That's coordinated at the level of Ukrainian charity organizations, which are trying to synchronize their work and cooperate between themselves, but also at the local level. There's the coordination with the state services. Everywhere we contact with ministries, with representatives of ministries and agencies to provide assistance more efficiently to people. Today there is the need to have a consolidated cooperation, and we are on the way of creating such cooperation. Newspaper по-украински. Do you believe? Do we need to help in cases when charity fund, one of the charity funds, cannot help? Like in Desna, resting house near Chernigov, 75 people moved away from sanatory because the charity fund cannot finance that place in the village. There's no work to get to Chernigov. Costs a lot, 20 hryvnias one way. Is in such case the assistance of other organizations needed? I believe that the assistance is always needed when people cannot help themselves, and that's why I say this is the call to everyone to consolidate the assistance. The problem we have, in autumn we saw that the priority task for all volunteer movements and charity organizations is to help people survive through the winter. We managed to do that because many people went to villages and they lived in houses in villages, in houses which were empty then, and this way they managed to survive through the winter. We did not have a massive phenomenon of people who had nowhere to live, but the problem is that the villages which were empty, where people did not live, they were left by, the houses were left by their owners, because there was no work in the villages. That's another problem. We need to find the possibility to help IDPs to find jobs and to get them adapted where they have prospects for work. And that is something that the state has to be doing. The state has to look at what programs can be developed to help people find jobs. There's another big problem here. Which part of those people who left their houses will stay outside of their houses, and which part will be able to go back? That obviously depends on the development of political situation, and we cannot say anything about that today. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your assistance.